So here we are back with episode 20 of G-Witch. From the last episode, looks like Mio will be taking the blame for the attack on Earth, and like Elan Zero alluded to, will most likely suffer from the success of it. Prospera killed a few birds with one stone in that stunt, progressing her revenge plot by destroying the many mobile suits on Earth, as well as pretty much guaranteeing Mio gets elected president. Suletta, while not completely understanding the motives behind Prospera and Ares' plan, knows why they pushed her away, so as to not get her involved. Really excited to see how this episode goes. Before we get started, if my voice starts to sound more rough as the video goes on, it's because I'm sick. Thank you for putting up with it, and I hope you enjoy. The episode is called The End of Hope, which is reassuring, and it starts with Noria watching the news report about the attack on Earth. She is very upset and is again cursing the Spacians for taking from her. We see Mio saying it's all her fault, with Guel and Kananji making their way to the school. Guel is fired up about taking in Shaddiq, however Kananji reminds him that they need to find Sarius first as they need evidence. We then see Shaddiq and the rest of Grassley in space getting ready to move Sarius. He tells Anao to contact the Space Assembly League about it. The other girls say they should have made their move first and gave props to Mio, but Shaddiq knows it wasn't Mio who did it, and seems to be wary of Guel specifically, wondering where he is. He deploys his mobile suit and we get the opening. After the opening, we see Ruji and Cecilia ask Martin why the Ariel is on Earth, and who is piloting it. Ruji knows that it's controlling the nearby machines based on the images they've seen. Martin says they're as surprised as they are and he doesn't know anything. Cecilia then tells him he's useless, but they keep asking him questions. We then see Earth House getting a ton of emails about the situation. The most telling one to me being the one that asks, "You do this to become president?" Lilik does a big brain and just turns off their tablet, saying that they can't reply to them if they can't see them. She's also understandably upset. They wonder about the company, and if they should just go to class anyway, like Suletta. Suletta then gets a message from an anonymous sender asking if Mio killed the Earthians. She looks distraught, but not completely out of it anymore at least. Petra then shows up to help Suletta out since he hasn't been paying much attention in class. She mentions Suletta helping out Lauda in the Rumble Ring incident, and Suletta asks if she likes Lauda. Petra gets all flustered and says this is how she gets on everyone's nerves. We then cut to Guel meeting up with Lauda, and he immediately asks for the Dariel Balde. Looks like Guel knows Shaddiq isn't going to come quietly, and is ready for a fight. Lauda asks why he wanted to bring it off campus, and asks about the short set before getting interrupted by Grassley's mobile suits moving in on them. Shaddiq asks what business Cathedral forces have at their school, with Kananji responding that they have information and would like to enter the campus. Shaddiq, trying to deflect, says he will handle it themselves and asks for the details. Guel, being the hothead he is, rushes in and asks where Shaddiq is hiding Sarius. Shaddiq then blames Guel for how Mio has been acting and closes in to attack. Looks like Shaddiq lifted the restrictions placed on his and the rest of the house's mobile suits, something Guel takes note of. Kananji says Guel played right into Shaddiq's hands, and him with 3 others deploy, making it a 5v5. The girls seem to be excited about fighting them, as they aren't just from the school. As the fight goes on, Anao secures Sarius, and they let go of the 3 outcasts, as Shaddiq says there's no more reason to hide them. Kananji then makes his way onto campus, declaring his presence and outfit, while telling the students to stay put. The door to the outcast room unlocks, and Noria makes a run for it immediately. Noria drops her sketchbook on the way out, and Elan 5 picks it up before running after her. Nika also seems determined to make her move. Noria then makes her way to her Gundam Thorn, getting her suit on while Elan 5 confronts her, asking her why she would pilot her Gundam again. She says it's none of his business, and would never understand how cheap Earthian lives are. She even mentions Naji and Olcott not understanding, despite being on the same side. She enters the Gundam Thorn, pretty much ready to destroy everything, even the school, and heads out with her Gundvolvas. We also see Elan 5 notice the Pharact, and he seems like he wants to stop Noria. She shoots her way out of the hangar and uses the Gunvolvas to indiscriminately open fire around the campus. Earth House wonders if it's Noria again as their building gets shot, seemingly destroying Choo-Choo's demi-trainer. They then decide they need to get underground. We then see Suletta and Petra with their building also shot up, making their way to safety. Petra starts complaining, blaming Lauda for standing her up on their date, and just goes on about it. Suletta just kind of agrees with her ridiculous ranting. They also grab a couple students that were knocked unconscious, trying to evacuate them too. Petra then asks Suletta what she would do if she survives, and goes on about being with Lauda again. Their building gets shot again, caving it in. We then see Kananji send a message to the school's front, saying terrorist mobile suits are in the campus area, and to send backup. He then gets engaged by Noria, and says he's had enough of Gundams. Cutting back to space, Guel and Shaddiq are continuing their fight. Guel questions him, asking if he's the one who guided the Donnafold in those attacks. Shaddiq admits to all of his questions. He then goes on to talk down on Guel's father, angering him. This riles him up and he tells Shaddiq not to insult his father. Shaddiq then mentions that Guel himself is the one that killed his father, and Lauda overhears this. This is the midway point of the episode. Back to the campus, the fight is getting worse. The school security forces have entered, but aren't having a great time. The gun vulvas are still wreaking havoc, and we see many students either barely alive or dead. We see Felsi get into her mobile suit to help, however it's still configured for campus use, so she needs to be careful. The Earth House students, stuck underground, wonder why Noria is doing all this. Martin, along with Ruji and Cecilia, then show up. Martin asks if everyone is okay, but they haven't found Suletta yet. Choo-Choo laments not having her demi-trainer, really wanting to go out and fight. Cecilia says it'll be a bad end for them at this rate, and offers up Burian House's new prototype mobile suit, the Demi-Barding, to Choo-Choo. She also calls Choo-Choo Pom-Pom Head, which is pretty funny. Cecilia tells them to tune it up, but they say the one who usually tunes up Choo-Choo's mobile suits is Nika, who conveniently shows up right then. Choo-Choo is about to confront her, however Martin says that they need the job done now, and that they can talk later. She quickly works on it and apologizes to Choo-Choo, saying it was all her fault. Choo-Choo asks how she can forgive her, but then says to tell her everything or else there's nothing to forgive. We then see the fight waging on the surface, Felsi getting pinned down by 2 gun vulvas. Choo-Choo shoots the head off one and tells Felsi they're going to smash up all the gun vulvas. Felsi goes all tsundere, saying she isn't going to take orders from an Earthian before going to Choo-Choo's side, ready to continue fighting. Cutting back to space, the battle gets more and more intense. No one's gotten shot down yet, they all seem to be holding their own. Shaddiq says if Guel had acted more wisely, that his father wouldn't have died, and that he could have dissolved the group peacefully. Guel then tells him to go to hell, since he's a traitor that collaborated with terrorists. Shaddiq then goes on about the Spatians making him turn to that he needs power to break the unjust peace of their world, that he's ready to do whatever it takes, even accept his own sins. He then gets contacted by Anao, saying their ship with Sarius is now leaving, and that they just need 5 minutes to get with the Space Assembly League. Guel sympathizes with Shaddiq, saying they each have their own sins to bear, but that he has to pay for his right there. He then rushes Shaddiq, tackling him and holding on. Sabina intervenes, shooting at Guel. She tells him he'll never understand the Earthian's plight. Guel uses the saber funnels to destroy her mobile suit's arms and then grabs Shaddiq's mobile suit's head, saying they're the ones who don't understand, that if all they do is take, they'll never gain anything. Shaddiq then shoots the Dario Balde in half, however Guel gets all 4 limbs of his mobile suits destroyed by the saber funnels. Guel evacuates his suit, but then gets grabbed. He says he'll never forgive Shaddiq, but he won't let him die either. Shaddiq then goes on to say that Benerit Group sacrificed Spatians at the school to maintain order, and that the Assembly League wouldn't act just because of Earthian losses. That they'll finally do something now. Sarius then calls Shaddiq his foolish son. Back at the school, Kananji and Noria are still duking it out. Noria repeating that she'll destroy everything. The permit seems to be doing a number on her, and then Elan 5 shows up in his fair act, telling her not to be in a rush to die. She immediately attacks him, arguing that running away does nothing. She says he isn't like Sophie, but Elan 5 says that she isn't either. He ends up knocking her beam rifle away and holds on, saying that the drawings in her sketchbook are the real her. She asks how he would know, but he interrupts by telling her to come with him, that if she doesn't know how to live, that he'll search for that with her, that if she's scared, he'll be at her side. If she doesn't want to run, then to take him to the places in her drawings. That the rest can come later, they're allowed to live and to let him prove it. This gets to Noria and she shuts down the gun vulvas. A very wholesome moment, and something that was very much anticipated, seeing as how Elan 5 has been treating her in the past couple episodes. She calls him stupid, and tells him to tell her his real name before getting sniped and killed. This completely drives Elan 5 mad, and he goes berserk, going straight for the guy that sniped her. From the looks of it, he also took control of a gun vulva to shoot at the other mobile suit. Elan 5 then bails and goes into space. We then cut to Suletta and some wreckage. She wakes up calling for Petra, however it looks like she might be dead too. The fighting all around is put to an end by Benerit. The school is ravaged, and many students have died. We see Earth House coming to terms with the situation. They find Suletta moving some rubble. Nika tries to talk to her, however she's only interested in trying to save other students. They all agree and decide to do what they can. The episode then ends. And man, they really cliffhangered us on Petra. I'm guessing since she wasn't with Suletta that she ended up dying there. Guess we'll find out next episode. Now let's talk about some things. This episode was mostly action, which is awesome. Having fights break out on both the school and space was a real treat. I expected Guel to take on Shaddiq, but not really right off the cuff like that. I guess he was ready for it after seeing the news reports though. They pretty much tied their fight, as both suits were mostly destroyed. Guel had no hesitation this time around, and was intent on winning, so good for him. As for the school, Noria getting taken out like that wasn't really surprising, but still kinda hurt. I mean, the moment between her and Elan 5 was wholesome, but don't let that distract you from her murdering many students and almost destroying the school completely. Even if she made it out alive, they would be coming for her in full force. Props to Elan 5 for being willing to take that on, I guess, but still. Wonder what he's going to do now if he doesn't get handed over to Pale. Lauda is going to have a rough time now. Not only did he find out Guel is the one that killed their father, but Petra is also most likely dead. I don't recall if they were officially an item, but still. He also may not forgive Guel for what happened, even if he tries to explain himself. I swear no one is allowed to love in this show. They sank 2 ships in this episode. Something important to note here is that they have Sarius back. This may or may not call off the election altogether, but we'll see. Sarius could decide to run in Shaddiq's place, or he may forfeit it to Mio because of everything that's been happening. Either way, Shaddiq is most definitely out, and Sarius will be the big deciding factor moving forward in regards to Benerit presidency. He may have overwhelming support despite everything that's gone in Mio's favor so far. They may decide to just give it to him instead, or Mio will have such strong support anyway. Guess we'll see. Drop your theory in the comments, I'd love to hear it. Benerit is about to have a field day dealing with all of this. The hate for Earth will only grow stronger after this. While the attack at Quinn Harbor wasn't instigated by Earthians, the ones at the school and space were, so that's a double whammy. I expect some drastic changes in the next episode. Anyway, let me know what you thought about the episode. It wasn't very plot heavy, however there was a lot of build up in the last few episodes for the kind of combat in this one. If you enjoy Gundam and Mecha, consider subscribing to the channel as it's the best way to support it right now. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.